To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigo Learn and click the bell icon.
Hi friends, in this subject we will learn about business and commercial knowledge, which is nothing but knowledge about business and commerce. Now you would have gained knowledge of accounting, you have already gained knowledge about law, you have gained knowledge about how to communicate, you also have gained knowledge about mathematics and statistics, you also learned about economics or the business economics part. Now what is all this about? Knowledge about business and commerce. Are we not accountants? Are we not supposed to be chartered accountants? Are we not supposed to be auditors who will audit the financial statements? Now for financial statements, I need to know accounting, I need to know law, I need to know some maths and stats. But why at all do I need to know about the business? Why should I learn about the commerce? That is one question you may always have. See friends, after you qualify, after you become a chartered accountant, either you will start your own practice or you will join a practicing chartered accountant's firm where you will be carrying out some audit assignments. Or you can join somewhere where you will be doing consulting assignments, or you may join a company in the finance function. Now you may say that when I have to join a company in the finance function, I need knowledge only about finance. But friends, when you join a company, the expectation is not that you will only be the financial advisor, you will also be a business advisor. When you start a practice, when you have to do an audit of a company, it is important that you understand what is the company doing, what is the business of the company. Without this business knowledge, you will not be able to effectively audit a company. Or you talk about consulting assignments. If you have to advise someone, on their business, unless you have a business knowledge, unless you have knowledge about commerce, you will not be able to carry out an effective consulting assignment. So in light of this brief discussion, let us understand what is business, what is commerce, what is the kind of knowledge that we are expected to know, what is the kind of knowledge that we should gather in our journey of chartered accountancy. All these things we will discuss. So friends, this will be a very exciting journey. You will get to know about what are the different types of businesses. We will also understand about various different companies which have been successful. We'll understand about what the government does, what are the government policies, and we'll also understand about various terms used in finance, banking, marketing. All these things we'll understand. This subject will be your base when you start learning strategic management at your inter level, and the knowledge you get in this business and commercial knowledge plus strategic management, it will help you to grow better in your career. Don't think that you will only do accounting or you will only be accountant. Think that you will become a business owner. Maybe in future you want to start your own business, you want to become an entrepreneur. Even there this knowledge will be helpful. So let us get into understanding about business and commerce. Before we move on to understand what is business, what is commerce, let us understand what are the types of activities that we as human beings perform. Say there is a woman who runs a restaurant. She owns a restaurant and she cooks food and she serves the food to the customers. Customers pay some amount to the woman for having the food. So the food could be anything, maybe tea, coffee, maybe chapatis, rice, anything. So she serves a lot of food to the customers. The customers, for having the food, they pay amount to this woman. The same woman at her own home, she also prepares food for her children, for her husband. But there, will the husband and children pay some amount to the woman? They will not pay. Now we talked about same activity in two different scenarios. At the restaurant, she is preparing food and selling to the customers. At her home, she is preparing food for her husband, for her children. But there, she is not expecting any money or any financial consideration in return. Now, this is a broad classification of the activities. This activity where there is an expectation of income, where there is an expectation of some form of economic consideration, maybe in terms of money or maybe any other financial consideration, that is called an economic activity. On the other hand, when she cooks food for her husband, for her family, and then she serves the food to them, there she does not have any expectation of any economic inflow or any financial consideration, any money being paid by the husband and the children. That is called a non-economic activity. So activities can be classified as economic activities and non-economic activities. What is the basic distinction? Under an economic activity, there is an expectation of an economic return or an economic inflow or a financial inflow. Under a non-economic activity, there is no such expectation. In both the cases, she is doing the same activity, but in one case, it became an economic activity. In another case, we call it a non-economic activity. Let us take one more example. Say there is a doctor who runs a clinic. Every day, patients visit the clinic and the doctor charges some amount of consulting fees from the patients. Now this would be an economic activity because the doctor is expecting something in return, expecting some form of economic benefit in return. But if the same doctor opens a charitable hospital where he treats poor patients for free, that would be a non-economic activity because here the doctor is not expecting anything in return for the services that the doctor is rendering. So the broad way to classify activities: economic activities and non-economic activities. Economic activities is done with the expectation of some form of economic benefit. Non-economic activities are performed without any expectation of economic benefits, more like charity, more from love, more from affection. So there is no expectation that money would come in or the person would be expecting some form of income. That is called a non-economic activity. But here expectation of income is very clear. When we talk about economic activities, there is always a question of what will I get in return or what will we get in return. If I perform some activity, if I am doing certain activities, what will I get in return? And this return must be in terms of economic benefits or in terms of income or in terms of financial benefit. But when we come to non-economic activity, there is nothing like what will I get in return. It is more out of love, more out of affection, more out of charity. Here the thought process is very much rational and logical. If someone is running a restaurant or if someone is running a clinic, the thought process is very clear. If I treat a patient or if I serve food to one customer, what is that I will get in return? But when it is a non-economic activity, it is more out of love and affection. To give you one more example, if you play some musical instruments as hobby or for fun or recreation, that would be a non-economic activity. But if you are playing some music instrument on a stage, expecting some form of reward, that would be a economic activity. Let us quickly summarize the difference between economic activity and non-economic activity. Economic activities are those activities which are performed for some form of economic or monetary gain, whereas non-economic activity are performed without any consideration or without any regard to any economic or monetary gain. So what is the motive for economic activity? It is purely an economic motive. We want to earn something. But when we come to non-economic activity, the motive is either social or psychological, that is out of love, affection, concern for humanity, social service. So those would be the motives. Even when you perform a non-economic activity, there would be an economic dimension to it. Now, what is that economic dimension? Whenever you are performing a non-economic activity, say you are running a clinic for charity. Now, you treat patients, and to treat the patients, you also give them some medicines for free. Now, when you are giving the medicines for free, this activity is non-economic. But to be able to give those medicines for free, you will have to buy those medicines from somewhere outside because you are not getting those medicines for free. So when you have to buy them from outside, there is an economic dimension to it. Means there is an economic outflow. But when you are serving the people, when you are serving the patients, there is no expectation of economic benefit. That's why it is called a non-economic activity. Another angle to look at the economic dimension of this non-economic activity is whenever a doctor is serving the patients for free, we know that there is an implicit cost involved. You would have already learned about it in economics that if this doctor would be working somewhere else, he would have earned certain amount of money. So there is an implicit cost or there is an opportunity cost of serving the patients for free. So here also there is an economic dimension. So there is money involved, there is cost involved, but the activity as such is non-economic because there is no expectation of any benefit. And the benefit we said must be in form of economic or financial benefits. Let us now summarize the distinguishing features of economic activities. Now we said that the fundamental motive is there must be some form of economic benefit, which means economic activities are income generating. If someone is running a restaurant or if someone is running a clinic or if someone is singing or if someone is playing a musical instrument on a stage for some expectation of money, these activities become income generating. So whenever you perform an economic activity, you will have some form of income coming to you. So if your father is working in an organization or if your father is employed in an organization, for every month you would be getting something as salary. If your father is doing a business or if he is running a business, every month you would be getting something as profit for running the business. If your father is running a clinic or if he is practicing chartered accountant, every month he'll get some form of income, maybe as fees from client or as consultancy fees. So these are some examples of benefits that people get when they perform an economic activity. So one thing is very clear, if you perform an economic activity, you will get some form of income. Whereas when you perform a non-economic activity, will you get any income? You will not get any income, because you are not even expecting that you will get something in return. If you are doing something for free for others, if you are treating patients for free, if you are cooking at home to serve your children, there you will not get anything in return. So there is no question of earning or generating income. We have learned in economics that there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. And when these factors are used for economic activity, what is the return that they would get? Land would get the benefit of rent, labor would get wages, capital would get interest, and the entrepreneur would get the profit. So when you perform an economic activity, each factor of production will get some form of compensation or benefit, either in terms of rent, wages, interest and profits. So profit is something which is left for the entrepreneur for taking the risk of doing a business or doing the economic activity. If you are working somewhere, you will get wages or salary. If you have a property that you have given out on rent, you will get rent. So whenever you perform an economic activity, you will get some form of benefit in either of these 4 categories. And friends, sometimes it may not only be in money terms. So it is not that when you perform a service, instead of getting money, you may get some other form of asset. So even that is possible. But consideration in form of economic or an economic benefit is a must. The next feature is economic activities are productive in nature, which means it will either result in production of some form of goods or services, and these goods and services will be traded in exchange of the economic benefit. So whatever goods and services are produced, they would be exchanged for economic benefits, and whoever procures these goods and services, they would be consuming, or they may pass it on to somebody else for consumption. Now even the consumption forms part of an economic activity. Production represents the supply part, consumption represents the demand part. All these you will understand in more detail when you learn your business economics. Now we understood that economic activities result in income. If you are performing some economic activities, you will get some income. Now is it that you will spend everything that you earn? Let's say you start working as a chartered accountant, you start earning 60,000 a month. Will you spend the entire 60,000? Not necessarily. What you would do is, you will set aside some amount for spending or consumption, means you will buy certain goods and services, that would be your consumption. Some part which is left out after consumption, you would be savings. So the part of the income which is remaining after consumption is called savings. So this savings will be routed to various different avenues. For example, you have saved some amount in the first month. What would you do? You would ideally keep it in your bank account, or you may open a fixed deposit. Now from the bank account, what would happen is, somebody who is in need of money or who wants to run a business, they would be borrowing that money. So when they borrow that money, whatever you have saved is going for a investment. So whatever you have saved is translating into investment. Sometimes even government borrow money to take care of their expenditure requirement. If they want to create certain infrastructure, or if they want to take care of their expenses, they also borrow from the banking sector. Or it could also be possible that with whatever you have saved, you have invested that amount in shares of some company. That also takes form of investment. So you have some income. From income, you will take some amount for consumption. Whatever is left out is savings, and this savings may be translated to investment. Obviously, some savings you may want to keep it as cash with you. That is also possible. But you may also be converting your savings to investments. Maybe you'll invest in some shares of company. If you have saved a lot of money, you may buy a real estate, you may buy gold, you may deposit into a bank account, you may do various different things. So economic activities would also result in all these kinds of investments. So it results in income. Economic activities are productive. Even consumption is an economic activity. And lastly, it would result in savings and investments. Now about all this, you will learn in detail when you learn economics for finance in CA Inter.